I'm gonna wait a minute or two before we get started. I've, well, our sitter finally, well, not finally, but decided to start taking kids today because teachers are still working and whatnot. So we pawned Ben off on the sitter this morning. So I've got some time to start going through the transformations assignment. And for those of you in chemistry, which I don't think is any of you in this group, I gotta start catching up on going through things. So you should start to see things start to come through a little bit more. Um, on Friday, we looked at exponential functions more precisely, like actually graphing them. Like the base ones, we looked at just reading the transformations. Today, we're going to go through, hopefully, those four on what's a base function, what transformations are there, what's the mapping rule, looking at key points, where's your horizontal asymptote, making a sketch, doing the domain and range, and we'll look at a couple of different things. And then tomorrow we're going to get into some word problem type thing with transformations, because those are the key sorts of things. And then I'll probably try to post some sort of exponential functions or intro or graphing or whatever you want to call this stuff assignment. I suppose I should share a desktop as I talk and you can't see.
Do you know when we're done with stuff, like school stuff?
No idea. I was talking with Mr. Ryu and another teacher friend last night, and well, Mr. Ryu's wife teaches elementary school, and she's heard some elementary schools are pulling the plug at the end of May. Um, we it's not been confirmed, but I've heard because there's no exams, um, we might be expected to go through and do material um, until the end of what would be exam week or even the week after. I I don't know. We have a staff meeting on Thursday, I think it is. Um, so I might find out more there. But we'll just keep on keeping on. So that's 4 minutes after we'll get started. Graphing exponential functions is the same process as graphing a radical function. It's a similar process to what we would use for trig, and you can use this whole idea of what's our base function. Well, in this case, it's that bit there. So I can say my base function is, whoops, not that, but y equals 3 to the x. Well, what transformations does this have? Is there anything with the x? No, but there's something here with the y. There's something there with the y. So we have a vertical stretch of 2, a vertical translation of -4. So we list our transformations. We do a mapping rule. X isn't changing. The y is stretched by a factor of 2, and then we move everything down 4 units. So that's the same process, and that's why we can go through and we did transformations on all sorts of basically random lines. Well, if we can identify transformations from an equation, we can write a mapping rule. We know that, okay, we've got y equals 3 to the x, so our key points, negative 1, 0, and 1, are 1/3, 1, and 3. These transform, well, we're not changing the x. We'll start at the bottom. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 4 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 4 is minus 2. 2 times a third is 2 over 3 minus 4. 3 fours are 12. So 2 minus 12 is minus 10 over 3, which this is one instance where we're graphing. Well, as a mixed number, that's minus 3 and a third, or minus 3.33. So we have those because that fractional point, um, we're not going to be all that super worried about exactly where it is. This one, now we know we have a horizontal asymptote. It's normally at y equals 0. Everything's gone down 4. So our horizontal asymptote is at negative 4. So this is where, oh, can I pull that up enough that we can kind of see it with that table? So the first thing I'm going to do is sketch in. Well, that was not the line I wanted at all. Is that going to... All right, we'll just draw it over it. Take that. Whatever. It's no big deal. So there's our horizontal asymptote. Now I'm going to worry about those points. 0 and negative 2 over 1 and up 2. So those ones we know, because again, it's about the general shape more so than the actual numbers. When you get into calculus and you're looking for different things, derivatives, integrals, you don't need to know exactly where every point is. You need to have an idea what the graph is. You have to know that there's your asymptote. Negative 1 and negative 3 and a third is about there. So we kind of have our horizontal, and it goes like that. I can't worry about 2 because this is 9. 2 nines are 18 minus 4. Like that point isn't going to do anything. So that's why we generally are just looking at those negative 1, 0, and 1 points. So there's the graph. It's, I want to say, fairly straightforward, but if you've understood transformations and you did that sort of stuff with the radicals, then this stuff should be logically, all I'm changing is the shape. My whole process is the same. Oh, because I've moved everything. Uh, X is part of the reals, and our range Y now has to be greater than negative 4. And we have something like so. So I'm just going to go through. I might just do the next two of them and say, hey, try the next one, and I'll put the answer. I'll do the answer tomorrow and go from there. So far, so good. This is where this sort of stuff is so much more difficult than in class because you can't say, hey, I have a, it's harder to say, hey, I have a question. But if you have questions, unmute, speak up, say, hey, doorknob, I don't know what's going on. So same idea. This one is fairly similar. And then we get into horizontal translations, and then we get all sorts of, oh yeah, we'll leave that one for you guys. Da, 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 da. Base function, a half to the x. So this one is going to be not growth, but decay, so it's going to drop. We have a vertical stretch of 3. We have a vertical translation of 2. X 3y plus 2. So again, we're going to look at our key points. 1, 0, 1. That's always going to be 1. A half to the negative 1 is 2. A half to the 1 is a half. Transformed, x doesn't change. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is, I almost said 4, but 5. 3 times a half is 2 is, which is 3 and a half. Sorry. So I like fractions. That's all right to leave like so. Now we've shifted everything up. Our horizontal asymptote is at y equals 2. This one I can just leave here. Step 1, when we draw one of these, draw in our asymptote. Again, it's the same idea as your sinusoidal axis. It's your reference, your starting point. So we have all of this business. Negative 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Negative 1 and 8, 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 and 2, 3 and a half-ish. That one's actually pretty good. Apparently I'm better at drawing the decay than, I'm going to just write domain and range over here. So domain exponentials are like quadratics. They're kind of boring. X is part of the reals. Let's stick to the important bits. The range, all of our y values have to be greater than 2. So though with a vertical translation, it's really shifting up and stretching up or down. Hopefully that's pretty standard. No one has any issues with that. Are there any questions? Oh, what was that? If I held the cursor on that and I get a little circle. Interesting. Oh, doctor. We got all sorts of stuff in this one. The base function, 4 to the power of x. Now, well, we have nothing in front, so there's no vertical stretch. We have a vertical translation of negative 2 down at the bottom. Now we've got some horizontal business. A horizontal stretch, horizontal translation. Take the reciprocal of the horizontal stretch, that's a 2. The opposite sign, horizontal translation, is 3. X, Y goes to, oh, now we've got some x business, 2x plus 3. So now everything's going to be stretched this way and pushed over. And y minus 2. Y, it's 4 to the x. So a quarter, 1, And 4 is going to become 2 times -1 is -2. -2 plus 3 is +1. A quarter, so that's -7/4, which is -1.75. 2 zeros are 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. 1 minus 2 is -1. 2 ones are 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. So we have our table again. Step number 1, horizontal asymptote. Y equals -2. Oh, I've changed to red. So we have these. I'm going to deal with those two for now. 1, 2, 3, -1. 5, 2. Yeah. Okay, I'm just was second guessing. And +1 and -1.75. So a parabola, if we have a horizontal stretch, it's going to go from kind of the normal shape, and technically it flattens out all of those points. This one we had our curve, and now that increase is kind of flattened out. But again, with one of these sorts of functions, we can actually lump that, like the horizontal and vertical stretch are fairly similar. So there we have our graph. Uh, so domain, boring, x is contained in the reals, range, y is greater than -2. So I mean that's pretty quick. Would you prefer? Well, I'm just this like timing with this is all over the place. So I don't. I would prefer. I think it would be better for you guys to go try this one, and I'll finish here. We'll go over that, and then we have two kind of word problems to look at. Um, One thing I wanted to suggest um, when it comes to turning in assignments, I asked you to take pictures and all of that, and the pictures are fine. If if your pictures are too small, I mean, I can just save them and whatnot. But where the issue has been is when you take picture of your assignment and upload it. I think people are taking it with their phones like this. So they show up on my screen the opposite way, and I'm trying to mark assignments looking sideways, and my wife says that's bad for my neck. If you could take pictures and save, like just copy them into a Word document and then just upload. I've had a couple people do that. If that's too much of a pain in the butt, don't worry about it. But if you want to save my neck and me from hurting myself, that would be awesome. Um, but oh, there was two other things, just kind of um, housekeeping. I saw it on Facebook first. The grade 9's going into 10 course selection was done, supposed to be done last week. I have no idea the process. I have no idea. There was a YouTube video that somebody made. I didn't watch it because I didn't have time. I saw last night there's 10 going into 11. So soon, which I assume would be next week, you're going to start to see 11 going into 12. When I see that, I will make sure I let you know. Oh, yeah, watch a There was one other thing from Mrs. Lauritsen. Um, calculus challenge exam at UNB. They do this thing if you sign up for calculus. Um, you can write an exam to challenge first semester calculus, but that's not the important thing. Um, this is something that I don't know exactly what it is. There used to be on the UNB web page or math web page a "Are you ready for calculus?" and it's just this a bunch of questions. Um, but this may be of interest if they're doing this sort of thing. I don't know if they'll do it next year. Apparently it's free, but you can do stuff in math and chemistry um, if you're interested. Manipulation of algebraic expressions, number basics, number sense, stuff that like two negatives, equations and inequalities, analytic geometry. We don't do a lot of that per se. Linear quadratics, polynomial rational functions. You'll do rational functions in 12b, exponential and log, trig, and more. Um, assessments will be blah, blah, blah. But if you know someone, that might be handy. And I'll try to find the link to the math preparedness test and put that up. But if you guys don't have any questions, you can take the next handful of minutes. Oh, someone does? Or was that feedback?
I have a question. I don't think I did anything, but I still have a question. So for this week, it's just the assignment that we have to do, right?
I think there's one assignment that's due this week. And then I'll probably put another one up once we're because like a lot of the stuff from here to the end is about exponential functions. So I'll probably do a couple because it's broken down into different things. Technically, yeah, May 14th. What day is today? The 11th.
Okay.
Yeah. And see,
And
looking at
sorry.
I've started looking at the transformations one, so I'll get as many as I can done this week.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? It's sunny. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer and not snowing today, so go outside, get some vitamin D and whatnot. Try to do at least the first little bit of that question. If you can figure the transformations, write the mapping rule, do the key points table, graphing it. I know you guys are all capable of plotting points. But other than that, I'm that's all I have to say for today. So I will bid you adieu unless you have a question. And we'll meet back here tomorrow. That sounds okay. I've seen some people have left. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.